6 years ago, I made a rant video about Sea of Thieves in its early days because I've been playing the game since it launched back then, but I have taken some hiatuses here and there over various periods of time. I recently got back into Sea of Thieves when it launched on the PS5, and I would say that over the past 2 months, I've played Sea of Thieves more than I ever did back in the day. But I did do a rant video, and this is something I've been wanting to do, is go back, react to the rant video. And bear in mind, this is from 6 years ago. So there wasn't much in the game back then. And just, I guess, go over what I was ranting about, whether I agree with myself from 6 years ago, disagree, and some of the things I wanted to see in Sea of Thieves that have become a reality. And maybe even some things that have yet to become a thing in Sea of Thieves that maybe one day it will, or maybe it's never meant to be. But anyways, I thought it would be fun to go back and react to myself. So without any further ado, let us begin, shall we? Climbing back upon Mount Soapbox for another rant. Yeah, that's a line I came up with, years ago? The whole Mount Soapbox thing. Anytime I do a rant, most of them I always open with climbing back upon another soapbox. I haven't done a rant in a quick minute, but don't worry. Eventually we will go back to Mount Soapbox.
And today we be ranting about Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not as serious in this one because I'm going with my pirate voice. Oh, God.
For the record, I've thoroughly been enjoying my experience playing Sea of Thieves, and I know a lot of it I've been playing off stream with friends and a bit of live streaming as well, because I do love me some pirate games like Sid Meier's Pirates, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So
yeah, I've been thinking about actually going back and playing through Sid Meier's Pirates again, maybe even stream it. That'd be kind of fun because I want to do kind of like a comparison between Sid Meier's Pirates and Skull and Bones, because I've been playing a lot of Skull and Bones as well off stream because I bought it for $35 about a few weeks ago. But anyways, other pirate games.
Obviously, I was very excited about Sea of Thieves when I first heard about it. Plus, Rare, awesome developer, and when you have people to play with in this game, it's a very good time. It's absolutely beautiful. The ocean looks magnificent along with the skybox.
It still is. I mean, it's funny, 6 years later on PS5, it's still a beautiful game. So props to Rare for making a beautiful world for us to enjoy when it comes to Sea of Thieves.
It's a thoroughly enjoyable game. But there be some issues with the game that I felt like we should rant about in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, Rare will eventually, I don't know, do something about these problems.
For the record, I don't know why my old friend Shotgun and I were two-personing a galleon at the time when we had the sloop. We could have just used a sloop instead.
Problems. First off, this game is focused very heavily on PvP, which is totally fine. But I feel like in a game like this, in a world like Sea of Thieves, it needs a bit more PvE as well.
Well, I mean, good news. Rare added a lot more PvP, and PvE to Sea of Thieves over the past 6 years, so that's a good thing.
Prime example. The only ships you come across in Sea of Thieves are other players' sloops and galleons.
We also have brigantines now, and another thing I think I'm going to talk about, because I do kind of remember my rant video from back then, and for the record, this is the first time I've been rewatching it. I've not rewatched it to this point. Is the fact that we now have skelly galleons and skelly sloops and ghost ships.
It just makes the world feel very dead for the most part. Like in Sid Meier's Pirates or in Black Flag, you see a ton of NPC ships going around the map. Sure. And I'm surprised that Rare didn't have NPC ships. And I think that the game would definitely benefit and feel more alive if there were NPC ships. Various types, of course, like merchant ships, treasure ships. Those would be kind of like defensive ships that you could go after, and you could attack them, you could board them, you could take whatever loot they happen to have.
Yeah, they don't really have that in the game. I mean, there are like ships you can come across. They added more different types of sunken ships. They had regular sunken ships. Then they've added some missions. Like I think the Merchants Alliance has a mission where you're supposed to go find a sunken ship. You have like Reaper sunken ships that have Reaper chests now. You also have one of the Veil missions, which has this like really cool graveyard of sunken ships. That's pretty awesome. But the only ships that are really in the game at this point are the player ships and the Skelly ships, which is two classes, sloops and galleons, and then the ghost ships. So there are no merchant ships just randomly sailing around the map. As I mentioned, we have that in Sid Meier's Pirates, Black Flag. We even have that in Skull and Bones, where there's just random merchant ships just sailing around, and other types of vessels that you can either leave alone or go after. So that definitely is something that is still lacking in Sea of Thieves.
Whether it's a treasure chest or something you can sell to the Merchants Alliance, or there would be hostile ships as well that would intentionally come after you if they see you. Like, for example, skeleton pirate ships. That would be really cool.
We have those
skeleton
now.
Pirate ships, along with some sort of...
Yeah, bear in mind, this was 6 years ago, so I don't know if I deserve credit for this. I probably don't, but I'm glad that one of the things I wanted to see in the game became a reality. Even if there's times now when I'm doing something else, my own business, like especially if you're like soloing a sloop, and all of a sudden like a Skelly sloop or even a Skelly galleon will just pop up on you, and you're like, damn it, stupid Skellies.
Royal Navy, that would be awesome as well.
The Royal Navy.
Patrolling the high seas, trying to keep some sort of order in this realm. But even without a Royal Navy, at the very least, there should be Skelly pirate ships that would potentially come after you.
Well, we got
along
those.
with the obvious other players. But I feel like the lack of PvE is definitely hurting Sea of Thieves. And
like I said, there's like way more PvE in the game now. So that's phenomenal news for pirates that prefer the PvE. Our pirates that like both PvE and PvP, I think there's a bit more for everybody. And I do think that the PvP does need some improvements, especially with Hourglass, which replaced Arena. And that's kind of like a off topic, but let's continue with the rant.
When it comes to making money, the ability to go after these NPC ships would mean more potential gold because of, treasure chests, because of maybe a legendary pirate happens to be the captain.
Well, I mean, there is way more ways of making gold in the game. We also can earn doubloons. You can do all these different gold missions. You can go after vaults, sunken ships, the Veil missions. So, yeah, credit to Rare. They have added a ton of different like voyage types for the players to go and do. Even just go island hopping and find bottles and, random treasure chests buried with maps. I mean, there's a lot of ways to earn gold now in the game compared to what we had at launch, which was very, very limited by comparison.
This pirate ship, and maybe there's like something you can sell, for example, make money, make some gold. Yep. And that's another thing. Like, you fight so many skellies, right? I mean, you also try to fight off sharks that are trying to gobble you up, but specifically when it comes to skellies, I really feel like a letdown occurs when you take one out and you don't get anything out of it except for the fact that you're not on the Ferry of the Damned. I think that with each skelly you take out, you should get like 1 gold coin. I know it's not much, but it...
Well, I mean, like now it's where like skellies that have firearms, right? Pistols or blunderbusses. If you take them out, then they drop ammo pouches, which is good for you because we have only a limited amount of ammo for our firearms. And there are certain skellies that you take out, they drop their skull, and then you can sell their skull to the Order of Souls. So, yeah, I mean, in a way, I feel like Rare has improved the skellies. Plus, there's now a variety of different types of skelly enemies, whereas back in the early days of Rare, of Sea of Thieves, Rare only had like one type of skelly NPC. So there's way more skelly types in the game. And yes, some of them actually do drop rewards. Not to mention the ancient coin skelly that can randomly pop up that will give you some ancient coins for the Emporium.
It's something, and it would add up, and it would add to additional ways of making money, making gold in Sea of Thieves. So yeah, I definitely would like to see them add the ability to earn a little bit of gold off of the skeletons. Maybe 1 gold for the easy ones, maybe 5 gold for more difficult skellies that you encounter throughout the game. And monsters! We need more monsters.
Oh, we do have more monsters. I think at this point we still had only the Kraken. And then it wasn't too long after that I think they added Hungering Deep with the first Megalodon. And then they added Ocean Crawlers. They added Sirens. So there's definitely more varieties of monsters and creatures. Plus the Phantoms are in the game now. And hopefully Rare will eventually add some new sea monster types. Like I mentioned in one of my videos like a few weeks ago, I would like to see like the Loch Ness Monster, or perhaps even like a big giant white sperm whale like Moby Dick added to the game. So yeah, I think there's a lot more variety of enemy NPCs and monsters for players to go up against now than there was 6 years ago.
When we were live streaming Thursday, it was Silver, Liam, and myself, and we were talking about this, the lack of PvE. And it just so happens the ship stopped in the middle of the ocean, and there's this eerie music that was playing, and I had a feeling that we were about to be in for a treat. All of a sudden, these massive tentacles rose out of the sky around us, and we were in an epic fight with the Kraken for a few minutes. By the way, I have it time-stamped in Thursday's live stream if you want to go check that out. It was a lot of fun. And I feel like that we need more of that in Sea of Thieves. Like maybe a white whale, like a Sea of Thieves version of Moby Dick.
That's funny. It's like 6 years ago, I wanted them to add Moby Dick. And 6 years later, I still want them to add Moby Dick because I love the book and I love the movie the book was based off of. Well, the Gregory Peck movie, like from the 50s. It's still a classic. But so, yeah, that's hilarious. But, yeah, the Kraken is still pretty epic to come across, except for some of us, like Riley, Bounty, and me. It seems like the Kraken these days just has it in for us, and almost anytime we're playing the game, the Kraken just, like, beelines towards us. I don't know what that's all about, Kraken, but you're a little too obsessed with us lately.
Or perhaps even a Megalodon shark. Or some other monsters.
Yeah, bear in mind, this was before they announced Hunger and Deep. Okay, so I predicted that they were going to add Megalodons. So just wanted to state that for the record, just like with the Skelly ships.
You could have, too, maybe like aggressive mermaids or ghosts.
Those two things, aggressive mermaids, right? Sirens. So they added sirens, which are basically asshole mermaids, because you have the merfolk, which are very friendly towards the players. And then you have the sirens, so that. And I just mentioned ghosts, which are the phantoms. So, man, my predictions are going true. I'm like Nostradamus here. If only I could predict me some lottery numbers.
Would come after you. I don't know. I'm just throwing out some additional, like, PvP NPCs to deal with.
Hire me, Rare.
The usual skeletons, sharks, and, of course, the snakes that like to blind you with their poison.
Those snakes.
I'm just trying to get a chicken snake. That's all. Jeez,
like
leave me
keg,
alone.
not a chicken.
Worst nightmares come true, right? Snakes and sharks in one game. My next issue is the items themselves. They're beautiful, well made. Obviously, the artists at Rare put a lot of love and work into them. Purely aesthetic, meaning that even though this blunderbuss or this pistol or this sword looks and is more expensive than the one you have, that's all you're getting. You're buying something that just simply looks better, whether it's a bucket or a pocket.
Yeah, but that's the way that this game ended up going. So I'm not always going to agree with myself in this rant video, 6 years later. This one I disagree with now looking back. I like the fact that the weapons are pretty much even for everybody. Everyone gets the same weapons. Yeah, new players start off with the base skins of the sword, the blunderbuss, the pistol, the sniper rifle, now the new weapons. But yeah, I think that Rare made the right call by making the cosmetics, the unique part of the game, when the base stuff is the same. The ships are the same, and the weapons are the same. And it's up to the players to improve their skills as a sailor, as a cannoneer, and as somebody that's good with a sword and firearms.
Watch or shovel. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for looks only. The shovel doesn't dig faster. The guns and the swords, aren't more lethal in combat. It's just about looks, baby. And
yeah, it is about looks, and that's the way that they've made it. They've made it to where there are different, like with the shops, right, for the different guilds, which they added later. You could earn different color shovels. different color compasses, scopes, etc. And that's the way the game is, and different types of sails. I think I talk about ship cosmetics in this rant as well.
Those looks are very expensive indeed, specifically when it comes to this ship upgrades. Now this is...
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, this is way before they added the Emporium. And so there's now, like, microtransactions in the game, which I do understand. Most online live service games have microtransactions. It's a necessary evil. Some are way worse than others. But there is a lot of cosmetics in the game you can still earn through commendations, doing some of the tall tales. And, you know, you can make a lot of gold in the game now because there's a lot more ways to make gold and purchase the various cosmetics, whether it's weapons cosmetics, equipment, clothing, and, yeah, ship cosmetics.
Something that really disappointed me when I went to go look at the prices for ship customization, because that's something that a lot of us would like to do, is to have a degree of customization, uniqueness for our vessels, whether it's a galleon or a sloop. And to my horror, the cheapest stuff that you could upgrade on your ship for sails, for the figurehead on the front, for even the livery on the ship itself, $70,000 for one thing.
Yeah, there's way more expensive cosmetics in the game now. On the flip side, it's a lot easier to earn $70,000. And bear in mind, this was during a time when they had only a small handful of cosmetics for what is now known as the charter ships. We couldn't even own these ships for the longest time. So anytime you'd log back in the game to use the galleon, the sloop, or eventually the brigantine, you would have to go to the shipwright and put the skins on. And then once you were done, you know, that was it. You'd have to repeat the process every single time. So that is another improvement. So yeah, there are things that are millions of gold in the game. But if you put some grind into it, some effort towards the different factions, and eventually become a pirate legend, become an Athena, or become a Reaper as well, whatever you want to be, you can easily, over time, make that money in order to buy the cosmetics that you want, even the really, really expensive ones. I guess it's a goal to aspire towards in the game.
A new sail, or for a new livery, or for a new masthead. It wasn't a pack where you got all three. It was for $70,000 or gold a pop. And there's no starter level. There's no lower tier where, like, if you get up to 10,000 gold pieces.
Well, to their credit, actually, Rare does end up adding some different colored sails that are pretty cheap by comparison. So I guess they listen to the fans. I'm not taking credit for this. I know I jokingly say that I'm predicting some of these things from 6 years ago. But I don't know, maybe somebody at Rare stumbled across this rant video, and well, if you did and you took some of my ideas, you're welcome.
You would get some lower level stuff to customize your ship with. I get the whole like system, like you have like upper level, like middle level, lower level, but there's no middle level. At the very least, allow us to spend 10,000 gold to change the color of our sails from.
Well, I mean, they did. So credit to Rare, you know. I don't know how many years later, or it may not have been too long after this, maybe a year later, they did add different colored sails for us to purchase. I mean, they were just plain colored sails like blue, black, etc. But, you know, over time, they have added way more cosmetics to the ships.
White to brown to red to blue to purple to whatever, even if there is no logo or icon on the sails.
Oh, there's plenty of ships with different types of icons now. In the regular shipwrights, as well as the Emporium, especially the Emporium.
Or at least change the color of our ship from brown to black to gray to green to whatever.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of different skin hull cosmetics now. Tons of them. Like I said, some that you can earn. Some you can just go ahead and purchase or unlock. And then there are, once again, those that you can buy with ancient coins in the Emporium. So, yeah, there's a lot more customization when it comes to our ships in the game. So that's definitely a good thing.
At least allow us to have some sort of lower tier Rare when it comes to
there is.
The ship customization. And at the moment, 70,000 gold is a lot. It takes a while to get.
I mean, yeah, to a new player, yeah, 70,000 is a lot. But we now have the tutorial, right? The Maiden Voyage tutorial. And in that tutorial, you can earn $30,000. Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in my Stars Guide video recently. So I mean, you get 30,000 there, and then you start grinding. You get into it, especially if you lucky enough to have a crew of friends or get on an open crew, and yeah, you can eventually like make some serious gold. And $70,000 will look like nothing in a matter of no time.
Up to 70,000 gold just to get a new sail or a new masthead or a new livery for the ship. So I really wish that there was lower level options, even if they're very simple, at least different color designs.
Well, there are. So
or
that's
maybe
good.
you start with like a one color design, then you have like two color designs with like black and brown or red and black or white and black or something like that. I just wish that there was more options when it came to customization
there's
for
definitely
ships
more.
and more affordable options than we currently have right now in Sea of Thieves. When it comes to carrying stuff in the game, you may notice that there's a limitation. You can carry up to 10 cannonballs, but only 5 bananas?
Okay, so this is when we only had bananas, and now we have like a whole bunch of stuff. We got coconuts, we got passion fruit, we got the pineapples, we got meat, we got fish that we can cook. So look, I know I complain about this, but I do also understand now that there should be a limitation on what the players can carry when it comes to your personal inventory, because if you allow a player to carry like a ton of food, right, then how can you kill them? Like when you're PvPing another player and they got tons of bananas or tons of pineapples or like cooked megalodon or kraken meat, then that's going to go on forever and they'll be almost invincible. So I think it's a wise decision in hindsight by Rare to limit what the players can carry. Plus, we can carry like way more things now. They added throwables like the fire bombs, the blunder bombs. We even can have a bone caller where we can throw some ally skellies to help us, and a few other things as well. So they have actually added more options when it comes to things that we can add to our personal inventory.
Rare, that does not make sense. Like, it should be the opposite. You should be able to carry like 10 bananas and only 5 cannonballs, because cannonballs, I don't know if you may know this or not. Yeah, cannonballs way more than bananas.
I do see this point. He's old me is right, or younger me. I guess it's younger me from 6 years ago. Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, I mean, if you put like 5 bananas here and you had to carry like 10 cannonballs, yeah, the 10 cannonballs are going to weigh way more. Hell, I would say 1 cannonball probably weighs more than 5 bananas. But video games.
Yes. Where's the logic?
There's no logic.
Being able to
video
carry
game.
more planks and more cannonballs than bananas. And I would like the ability, like as you rank up in reputation points with the different orders, like the Order of Souls, Gold Hoarders, Merchants Alliance, or maybe that also like allows you to carry more of each thing. I don't know, maybe with the merchants you can carry more bananas.
Actually, I disagree with this, because going back to what we just talked about, I think that it should be an even playing field for everybody, new players and old players, good players, bad players, veteran players, etc., is where everybody can only carry the same amount of stuff. Doesn't matter if you're like day one at the tutorial level or just spending your time in safer seas, eventually getting over to high seas, becoming a pirate legend, or like a PvP superstar in Hourglass. I think that all pirates should have the same limitation to what they can and cannot carry. So I disagree with me from 6 years ago.
With the Gold Hoarders, you can carry more cannonballs. With the Order of Souls, you can carry more planks.
No.
That'd be kind of cool if we had the ability to carry more on our person. But I understand that there needs to be a limitation.
Exactly, younger me. There has to be a limitation, okay? So, yeah, I totally get the concept of limitation. It makes more sense now to me now than it did 6 years ago.
But it doesn't really seem logical to be only able to carry 5 bananas but 10 cannonballs.
Video game logic, okay?
Now let's talk about the outposts. I like the outposts just fine. All 3 factions are there for you to sell your loot to. You can go to the various clothing stores, even though they're expensive, for all these aesthetic clothings, equipment, weapons, and for the ship customization as well. One thing I don't really like is the fact that the outposts should have been made neutral, non-PvP from the beginning, aka safe zones. I know some of you are like, GeauxBurns, this is a pirate game. We're supposed to be pirates. We're supposed to be able to attack and loot each other and pillage each other and steal our shit.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that entirely. So I once again disagree with myself here. I agree with everybody else. So you're wrong, GB, from 6 years ago. And I even did another video recently called "Embrace Being a Pirate." So yeah, you're never safe when it comes to your loot until you actually sell it, whether it's to the various factions or whenever you finally get your own ship to the sovereigns. So the sovereigns is definitely another positive they added to the game, along with the ability to actually finally purchase our own vessels and permanently customize them instead of having to go back to the game every single time into the shipwrights and customize the quote-unquote charter ships over and over and over again. So yeah, sorry, but these areas should not be neutral. And yeah, you gotta be mindful of the fact that there's always a possibility that another pirate is still gonna try and steal your loot, even if you're right there by the outpost or you're parked at the outpost, you're selling it. You should always pay attention to the horizon, because time and time again, we have come across other pirates that aren't paying attention. And guess what? They paid the price for not being paranoid and keeping their eyes on the horizon. Always keep your eyes on the horizon in this game, because, like I said, it's a pirate game and there's other pirates coming for you. Maybe not always. Some people just mind their own business, do their own thing, but there's always those out to try to get your loot, even if you're almost there and you're almost about to sell it. It's only safe when you finally sell it. So yeah, once again, I disagree with me from 6 years ago.
That's fine. There's plenty of ocean. There's plenty of other islands in the game where you can do that. But I think after a hard voyage, whether it's going to get chickens or pigs, or looking for treasure chests, or fighting off a whole bunch of skellies to get that one legendary pirate, get his skull. Once you make it to an outpost, it should be a safe zone.
No.
At the very least, the outposts should be non-PvP. They should be neutral. They should be safe zones. And even in pirate lore, there were islands like that in pirate history, where the pirates could go and mingle and carry on, and with a few exceptions. I mean, there probably were issues.
Look, I think we have this fantasy about the pirate code. You see it in Pirates of the Caribbean and other, I guess, forms of work. And I'm sure there was some pirates that had a code, but there's also a lot of pirates that didn't give a shit about the so-called code because they were pirates. So everyone's different, just like in Sea of Thieves. There are pirates that you will come across that won't try to steal your loot. I've had that happen before. Like, me and another sloop showed up at an outpost together, and we got on the game chat, and we just had a good chat while we were both selling. We didn't shoot each other. We were having a good conversation. He was actually new to the game. He just got it on PS5, and maybe an old school Sea of Thieves fan, from the Xbox days to now PS5. It was a good conversation. You're going to come across different types of people in the game. And just like back then, there were different types of pirates. There were pirates that, I guess, had a code, but there was also plenty that did not.
But at the same time, there were like zones like that where the pirates could go and just hang out and drink, be merry, and do whatever else they wanted to. So I really do believe that the outposts should have been neutral.
I disagree. Once again,
PvP and safe zones.
They're fine the way they are.
Something else I seriously think Rare needs to fix. Pirate customization.
It doesn't look that doesn't need to be fixed. It's fine the way it is. Once again, it's a pirate game. You have to always be mindful of other pirates. If you're at Port Merrick, and this was during a time when Port Merrick didn't even exist, so I'm glad they added Port Merrick. I wish we had like a similar city to Port Merrick, maybe on the other side of the map, maybe like right before you get to the volcanoes. But anyways, yeah, this is just the way it goes in this game. You're not safe until you sell your shit. So, yeah, I disagree with this concept, this idea I had 6 years ago.
So, this is something you can either love or hate. And Rare, I guess, was just trying to be different. I like the different body types. I like all the different options you have when it comes to what your pirate can look like. The issue is the implementation. You have several of them spawn, and if there's one you like, you don't have to pick that one right away. You can favorite it. You can lock it, which is a good thing. But you may not be completely sold on that pirate as your choice. So you keep refreshing the other pirate options, and then the other pirate characters will respawn over and over again until you find a look that you actually like, or a look you finally get tired of, having the respawn over and over again after 30 some odd minutes, and you just settle for the one you favorited at the very beginning. I would have preferred customization where you could customize the face, you could customize the body type, the sex, the hairstyles, the hair dye colors. I would have preferred that. The skin type.
Yeah, I mean, I will actually agree with this still to this day. I know there's people that have grown to accept and embrace the RNG creation system that Rare implemented, like at launch. I don't like it. I never have. I mean, I'm content with my pirate character, which I randomly made, like with the RNG system, like at launch. But I still think that it would have been nice if we had the ability to do a bit of customizations to our pirates. I know you can change the hairstyle, the dyes. Now there are hair dyes. There's different curses you can get, different tattoos, different clothing, etc. But I mean, I've never really been a fan of the RNG. It's not a big deal because, as you may notice, most of the time we're playing the game in first person, so you never really actually see your pirate. Other players do, but it is what it is. It's just something we have to accept, even if we disagree with it. And that's how I feel about the RNG pirate creator. Personally, I don't like it. I prefer actually having more control over my character customization in online games, but it's not the end of the world.
As opposed to the system.
And another thing, look at this shit. We have the anchor down, like Hutch, Shotgun, one other guy, and me, and the sails are down too. God, we were so noobs back then. You don't do this. You don't fucking do this. It's so funny just to see like how we were playing the game back in the day. But yeah, don't do this. Drop the anchor, like raise the sails, raise the anchor after you're done. This is new behavior.
We have in Sea of Thieves when it comes to the look of your pirate. Furthermore, I wish there were more female pirate hairstyles. There's like maybe one or two, I think.
That's something I do agree with as well. I feel like that's still a problem. I think that there's hairstyles in the game, but it's hard trying to decipher which ones work better for female characters. And my character happens to be female, what I call the Pirate Queen Janine. And I'm still using my Ferryman cosmetics I got from the controller that I bought prior to launch, which is apparently some of the rarest cosmetics in the game when it comes to your character. So that's pretty sweet. So yeah, I think that if they had a few more like feminine hairstyles, that would probably be a good thing.
And the rest clearly look like male hairstyles.
Yeah.
And once again, once you have your pirate picked out and loaded into the game, I think the hairstyle color that you pick on that pirate, whatever hairstyle it happens to be, the color, whether it's red or blonde or brown or black, that's the color you have to keep.
No. That changed. To credit to Rare, once again, that changed, fortunately, so props to them. I still think there should be more hairstyles, but maybe eventually they'll add more. But, yeah, there's a lot of different hair dyes you can get now. And, in fact, when you become a pirate, Legend and Athena, there's also other hair dyes you can get down there at the Athenas as well. So, yeah, I mean, even if you start off as a brunette or a blonde or a redhead as your character, male or female, yeah, you can change the hairstyle. You can change the hair color. So there are things you definitely can change about the character. It's just like the main build of the character will remain the same. Unless you want to spend a little ancient coin at the Emporium, then you can get another go at the RNG. But nah, I'm good.
While there are some hairstyles you can change between, not too many, you cannot change the color of your hairstyle. So
you
I wish
can
there was
now.
a dye option
Good job.
at
Props
these
to Rare.
stores that allowed you to change at least the color of the facial hair as well as the hairstyles. And as I mentioned, more female hairstyles would be very much appreciated for female pirates in Sea of Thieves. Now, going back to ships, we only have, I think, maybe 3 ships in the game: the galleon, the sloop, and I think what they call the legendary ship. I haven't seen the legendary ship yet.
Yeah, I don't remember the legendary ship. I think they removed that. So, yeah, there was I guess this was in the early days, and we believed that there was like a legendary ship that pirate legends could get. At this point, I wasn't a pirate legend, so I never got to see that ship firsthand. I don't even know if it's real. But, yeah, during this time, we technically only had 2 player ships. We had the sloop we had the galleon. Eventually, they added the brigantine, so 3-player ships. And yeah, I do wish we had some more ships in the game for players to use, or at the very least, as I mentioned in my ideas video a month ago about things I would like to see added to Sea of Thieves, like some different variations, like Far East variants of the sloop, brigantine, and galleon. Basically, everything else on the ship's identical except for the look of the ship. That would be kind of cool.
But I've heard that there is a legendary ship once you reach legendary status.
I
just wish there was different ship classes with different abilities, like frigates, brigs, man-of-wars.
Well, we did get a brigantine. Basically, it's the same thing. Yeah, I realize in like Skull and Bones and like real life ships, the brigantine and the brig were 2 different vessels. But in Sea of Thieves, the brigantine, same thing. So credit to Rare for at least giving us 1 additional ship.
But the lines, etc., and they all had their...
Well, I mean, we are getting technically a man-of-war. It's not going to be we'll be able to temporarily use it with the Burning Blade and Flameheart coming to Season 13. So it's kind of a player ship, but kind of not a player ship because you can't keep it permanently. It'll hopefully be a lot of fun whenever we get to use the Burning Blade in a few weeks from now, hopefully.
Pros and cons. They had their unique customization. They had unique weaponry you could add to your ships. And that's another thing, like with the cannons. You only get one specific type of cannonball. You don't have different types of cannonballs.
Actually, I know. We have lots of different types of cannonballs now. The regular cannons, we got chain shots, we got curse balls now, we got the new one with the scatter shots. You can also use the throwables and put throwables in there, like the fire bombs, the blunder bombs. You can even launch the bone callers through the cannons, and flares to let players know if you're friendly or hostile. You even have fireworks now. So there's definitely a variety of ordnance you can use with the cannon. So prop to Rare for doing that.
I wish we had a variety when it came to...
And we do now. So
cannonballs as well, along with the different types of ships besides simply sloops and galleons and whatever the legendary ship happens to be. And finally, I would like to bring up the lack of rowboats.
Okay. This is before rowboats, and once again, I'm taking credit for this one, not really, but I'm so glad they listened to either me or maybe the community. Maybe it wasn't just me. Maybe there were plenty of others out there in the Sea of Thieves community that were basically giving Rare these ideas, like, hey, it'd be awesome if we had rowboats. And when they added rowboats, I think it was definitely a game changer because there's so many times we have used rowboats for various things. I'm glad we have rowboats in the game. It took me a quick minute to learn how to properly steer and use the rowboat, but once I got that down, it's definitely a positive. So I'm glad we have rowboats.
Time of sail ships in the Pirate Age, they had rowboats. Why don't we have a rowboat in this game?
Well, we do now.
At the very least, the ability to purchase a rowboat.
Yeah, I mean, we can't buy them, but we can find them, and as long as you put them on the back of your ships, as long as it's like a purchase ship, a player ship, not a charter ship, because you'll lose that after you leave the session. But at least with the ships that you can buy, you can find a rowboat, and there's different types of rowboat. There's the regular rowboat. There's rowboat with the harpoon guns, and by the way, the harpoon guns didn't even exist back in this time period. So that's something else that they added to the game. Props to Rare for adding the harpoon guns to ships and rowboats. Plus, you can also find rowboats with a single cannon on it, so that's cool. Yeah, I would like the ability to actually purchase a permanent rowboat and even have customization options for the rowboat. And that way you could just attach a rowboat to a sloop all the time, every time you load in, or to the brigantine, or to the galleon, and have the colors match our ships. But maybe that's a future thing they might do, or if they just leave it the way it is, not a big deal.
And you have the ability to, go to the captain's quarter and request your rowboat. It drops into the water, and it can carry 3 people. So even if you have a crew of 4, one person can stay on the ship, and the other 3 can roll safely to shore without worrying about the sharks getting them. And the ability to put treasure chests and chicken coops and the pig pens, along with the various goods that you can sell to the merchants, along with the pirate skulls, on the rowboat for safe transport from ship to shore. Because a lot of times, I don't exactly get close enough to shore. Whether I'm going to a new island or I'm going to an outpost, it would just be nice to have the ability or the option to purchase a rowboat to use in Sea of Thieves.
All right, so we can't buy rowboats, but it's the next best thing, right? We have the ability to find and use rowboats, whether temporarily with a charter ship or until we lose the rowboat and our ship sinks with our own personal vessels. So yeah, props once more to Rare for listening to the community and adding rowboats. And they definitely are a benefit to players. Like, I don't always use a rowboat to get to shore. I just do the sword tech, sword dash trick, or the harpoon lines now, thanks to Season 12, where you can actually like climb on the harpoon lines. That's awesome. But yeah, there's situations like with the vaults where you have like tons of treasure chests, or you took down some skelly ships or even a player ship, and like their treasures are just floating around, and maybe you're having trouble like lining the ship up with the harpoon guns to grab all the treasure chests. You know, it is good and convenient to have that rowboat in order to accomplish that. Or if you lose the ship, right, for whatever reason, your main ship, and you have a rowboat, then you can jump off onto the rowboat, and then you can start grabbing the treasure and all your supplies out of the water, and wait for your crewmates to show up in, I guess, the respawn vessel in order to salvage things that you lost. Like, case in point, I think that happened to us at least once or twice in the Devil's Roar, where like we'd be gathering up like ashen chests, or even like going after a vault, and we unfortunately come across a volcano or two volcanoes, and it just wrecks our ship. But one of us somehow managed to survive with the rowboat, so they were busy like grabbing everything, putting everything back on the rowboat, while the rest of the crew respawned with the ship, and we're just hauling ass across the ocean, like trying to get to our lost treasure. So yeah, rowboats are definitely a lifesaver.
Now, this is an online game, and hopefully Rare will continue updating it, but
they have continued updating the game, and there's some good stuff they've added to the game over the years. There's definitely some bad stuff, so it's kind of gone, back and forth, the good and the bad, just like with any other online live service games. There's going to be things that they add that people love. There's going to be things that they add that people don't like, and that's no exception here. But props to Rare for not abandoning Sea of Thieves and continuing to update this game for over the past 6 years, and for it now being available for PS5 pirates.
Launch. There's a lot to be desired for this game, despite our looks, despite how much fun I've had with friends and fellow content creators and streamers playing it. At the same time, I really wish that at launch, Rare would have added a bit more to Sea of Thieves, but hopefully they will in the next few months. And
Well, I mean, not in the next few months, but definitely in the next several years, they added way more content to the world of Sea of Thieves. And, I mean, this is a reality for a lot of games now, especially live service games. They'll launch kind of bare bones, and even a beautiful world like Sea of Thieves, which still looks good to this day. I think even make this point near the very end, where, like, it's a beautiful world, but at the time, there wasn't really that much that players could do. And now, fortunately, 6 years later, there's way more for pirates to enjoy in Sea of Thieves.
Hope that it survives this first few weeks and months.
Well, it did, which is good.
There's a hardcore enough fan base that stays with the game. But as of right now, I honestly got to say, I don't feel like Sea of Thieves is worth $60. By the way, for more in-depth review of Sea of Thieves, check out my friend's channel, Carrick. He did an awesome review of Sea of Thieves. His channel, of course, ACG. And he does the best reviews on YouTube when it comes to video games, AAA as well as indie.
Yeah, and Carrick still does amazing reviews over on his channel, ACG. And I think at this point he hadn't reached a million subscribers yet. So Carrick is well over 1 million subs now at this point. So props to my friend Carrick. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people, myself, Actman, and Carrick at ACG, and several others were very critical of Sea of Thieves at this point 6 years ago. But it has come a long ways over the past 6 years. And it would be nice if some individuals would go back and revisit the game especially with Season 13 about to launch in a few weeks from now, and just say, hey, this is where the game is now. Much better place than it was 6 years ago around launch. But I do think that the game should have had a bit more content at launch. It was very, very bare bones compared to what it is now. But like I said, this is a sad reality that a lot of live service games start out as. A lot of them don't survive. So credit to Rare for keeping Sea of Thieves afloat 6 years later.
And if you have a rant suggestion for a future episode, feel free and send it my way via the comment section, Twitter, Facebook, Discord. All the social links to the GeauxBurns Nation be linked below in the description section.
Yeah, I think I am still cheesy and cringy. Am I still as cringy and cheesy as I once was 6 years ago? That's for you to decide. So there you go. That was my rant video from 6 years ago. Things that I agree with still to this day. Things I disagree with. And predictions that ultimately came true. And once again, I'm not taking credit for any of it, Rare. I'm sure there were plenty of fellow Sea of Thieves fans back in the day that were probably saying the same things that I was saying. And it just shows that Rare was listening to the fan base. And I think they did a pretty good job in adding, I think, most of the stuff that I was wanting to see. I mean, I would still like to have like regular like merchant ships like we were just like going over in this rant video. That would be kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't think they're ever going to add quote unquote merchant NPC vessels for us to attack. I think the best we can hope for is just the skelly ships. I mean, yeah, they're aggro. They come after you. Or you can just go after them if you happen to see one in the distance. So I guess you just pretend it's a merchant ship with skellies on it. But, I mean, at least we have that, right? Skelly ships, ghost ships. The only thing I would say about the ghost ships is I think they need to drop more skelly captain heads so I can get me those fairy sails that are pretty sweet looking to go with the rest of my dead unicorn drip. But anyways, I'm very happy to say that Sea of Thieves is in a much better place today in 2024 than it was 6 years ago. And hopefully Rare will continue to add more content to Sea of Thieves. I do think that there's definitely more things they could do with the game. And we're going to see a big change to it, I think, with the launch of Season 13. With the return of Flameheart and his flagship, the Burning Blade. A man of war, that should be awesome to go after and eventually take control of and then use it to wreak havoc against other players in the Sea of Thieves. So that hopefully should be fun. I hope so. And I think in the next season, they're going to add like a harpoon gun for us to be able to use. So that I could see the benefits of a harpoon gun, though that would mean sacrificing a weapon slot because we only have 2 weapons. And for the record, that's one thing that should not change ever. It should always be limited to 2 weapons, forcing the player to make, tough decisions when it comes to their weapon loadout, whether they want to go with a sword and a firearm or they want to double gun it or like have a firearm with the harpoon gun or a sword with the harpoon gun. Either way, I look back and I think that it's important that there are limitations when it comes to the weapons we can carry, as well as the limitations of things that we can carry in our inventory, our personal inventory. And there's been a lot of ways that they have made it easier, like with the storage crates. The storage crates were a major game changer in Sea of Thieves, and that allowed us to carry a lot more stuff because just grab this box, whether you buy it from the merchants or you just happen to find a storage crate, you can so easily use it to empty barrels, whether they're on islands or floating around in the ocean. And so, yeah, I think it's a lot better now. But the game definitely needs more sea monsters like Moby Dick or Nessie. And when it comes to the current sea creatures, the Kraken, the Megalodons, I would like for them to drop more rewards. Like, I don't know, the Horn of Fair Winds, which we rarely see now in the game, even though it's a new item from Season 12. So, Rare, if you could like increase the spawn rate of the Horn of Fair Winds, that would be great. Rant video, link below in the description section. Your thoughts, views, and opinions, welcome, as always, below in the comments section.